Warning: the following presentation is intended for mature audiences. It includes stigma topics like sex, addictions, mental illness, adult dialogue, and strong language. Viewer discretion is advised. Hi, my loves. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode on the Rouse Podcast. I'm your host, Sam, and today I have the lovely Leah. She is a manifestation queen that I know and love from Instagram, and I'm so excited to have her on the podcast today to share her very unique framework on manifestation because there's so many different types of manifestation techniques. There's the 5x55, there's 369, there's the pillow technique. There's so many ones out there, but Leah has this very specific one that she's created, and I'm so excited for her to share it with us today. So you can try it for yourself because manifestation does work. It has worked for me in many aspects, but today we're going to listen to Leah share her method.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited for this and to dive into all the manifestation goodies. So as you guys heard, my name is Leah. I'm essentially a manifestation expert, mentor, coach, whatever you want to throw out there. And I'm the owner and founder of The Abundance Attitude. And we're disrupting the personal development world by making manifestation a conscious way of life through that framework that you mentioned, which is faith, belief, and certainty. And essentially, well, I love personal development, first of all. So that's what led me to, creating the abundance attitude. But, I myself found myself in this really dark place about 4 years ago, just not loving a job and a toxic relationship and going through a breakup and all of that. I was just like, why don't I try to use, personal development, self-help, which of course led me to manifestation. You kind of mentioned those rituals or practices a second ago. And of course, I tried everything under the sun because I was like, I'm going to create a vision board. I'm going to say my affirmations, all those things that everyone hears. But I just kept hitting like roadblocks, just finding myself in the same place. So I said, there has to be something to this because with so much information on manifestation and just personal development, why are so many women still not living their dream life, right? I kind of had this epiphany, like me included. And so I took it upon myself to go a bit deeper and dig into the science and the mechanics and the essentially the how instead of just the what. And that kind of led me to my framework and really digging into making manifestation a way of life, making it work for me in that way instead of just kind of like those surface level rituals, as you mentioned.
Love all of that. So how did you come up with this unique framework of manifestation? Because like we've talked about just briefly here, that there's so many out there. What made you come up with this version of this manifestation technique that you created?
Yeah. So as I said, I saw a missing link. And that missing link was really actually believing in manifestation, right? Essentially just being like, do I really, really full-heartedly believe that I am a co-creator of my life? And that missing link was understanding the mind and how it actually creates our energy, understanding how that mind houses our self-perception, our self-image, or self-identity. So basically who we think we are and how that essentially dictates our vibration. Because in the manifestation world, and not even just the manifestation world, this is just like literal fact of the world. Everything is energy, right? I know a lot of people are like, raise your vibration, raise your vibe, match, become an energetic match. And so if you don't actually understand how everything is energy and how everything can transform, and instead of create or destroy energy, we just transform it. I just saw that missing link because people, without understanding all of that stuff, because it's not necessarily sexy in the marketing manifestation world on TikTok and all of that, I just feel like people half-heartedly kind of think that they can do it and kind of use it as a cop-out, like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and meditate and try to like create this dream life because it kind of seems it's tantalizing, right? Oh, this concept is going to get me everything I want. And like as humans, and especially women, like we really feel that at our core, right? We want that life because it's literally our desires are leading us to our true potential. And we feel that pull innate. So I saw this missing link and I was like, okay, understanding that stuff, that really builds the first phase, which is faith. Okay. So when I take my clients and my students through really understanding how your conscious mind, subconscious, and your body create essentially your attitude, which is your thoughts, emotions, and actions. And when you understand that process and how energetically and physically you are creating your life, you can kind of start approaching manifestation with this like unwavering faith because you see the process, right? And so when you feel, and it also teaches you why you feel that doubt or anxiety or worry when you try how to get out of your comfort zone. So it really just gives you like a scientific foundation, actual picture in your head to work off of, instead of just kind of like poo-pooing some like rah feel good those techniques like create a vision board and like act as if and stuff. It gets very muddled when you don't understand what's actually going on in your mind and your self-image, right? So that really builds your faith. And of course and then we can talk about belief and certainty. I don't want to just keep riffing. But that's kind of how I just saw a lot of missing links. And so I kind of just put together the information that allowed me to change my life, put it in those 3 phases.
I love that you mentioned that it's like a process, like seeing where you are from the start. And it's like, okay, well, there's like these 3 steps. And like you said, with a vision board or like acting as if you're this higher version of yourself, there's no real like guide or like yellow brick road almost to follow. And it sounds like your framework is exactly that, especially for the women out there that is like, no, like I really want to see that there's a process to this, that there's like a few different steps for me to get on the path that I want to, rather than just being like, oh, we're just going to create a vision board. Because for some people that doesn't work, and it just doesn't work for them, right?
Right. Yeah, it's truly about, I like to say that manifestation is less about the things that you want and more about yourself. Okay. Because, people, I don't like to teach manifestation just for women to get things. Of course, I want them to get their things, because truly, when you have the physical reality around you of surrounding with things that you want, like that's an expression of you, who you are. But I teach manifestation so women can step into that version first, because that is literally the secret sauce. And so, the vision board and the affirmations and that surface level stuff doesn't necessarily get to the level that you want to create that dream life, at least in a quantum leap. Yes, can you manifest a butterfly? Can you manifest a free cup of coffee? Can you maybe manifest a few extra clients or like a bonus check here and there, whatever, like haphazardly manifesting? But those things, again, don't change your identity. And truly, your identity is the foundation of who you are, and then hence creates that vibration of who you are. And I call it your vibrational trademark. And your vibrational trademark, you can think of it like a string is attached to you and it goes off into the universe. And whatever that vibration is, that string is pulling back to you the same frequency, just in, people, places, jobs, money, situations, circumstances. You're resonating essentially with that. So the vision board, yes, doesn't really shake you and change you and shift you and expand you in a way that needs to happen to create that big vision that you have.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that like string analogy, because like you said, you're going to have different vibrations in different situations. So for example, if someone that's listening, they just hate their job, their vibration is going to be different there, and it's going to be much lower than in something that they love doing instead. And like if they just changed industries or their career and they showed up at a place maybe even where they're not in a toxic work environment anymore, and then they can have a much higher vibration there. Like it could be something that's simple, or like getting out of a toxic relationship, raising your vibration that way because you've released all this toxicity from your life.
No, definitely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because, this is something else I really take you through in the faith, belief, and certainty. And it, essentially, I guess you can kind of teeter between belief and certainty. But, if you just, yes, we want to like look at our reality and say, what can I change in my environment? But it's kind of like, I'll use an example of, like, let's say you keep your room really messy and you're like, okay, I'm going to organize my room, pick up my clothes, do whatever. And I'm finally going to change having a messy room. But then a week later, you're like, dang it, it's messy again, right? It's because, again, it really truly comes back to that identity of who you are. And you kind of got to just change your self-perception of somehow subconsciously, maybe you think that you are a messy person, or you just don't have in your identity, the habit of cleaning up. And so, yes, change the environment, but at the same time, look at who you are that created that environment in the first place, because that's what's going to really allow you to manifest the sustainable change that you want and change that vibrational string coming off of you, in a sense of cleaning or work environment or toxic relationship. Because I'm sure, especially in your niche, I'm sure you have maybe clients or friends or whoever keep manifesting the same type of man or partner over and over and over again, right? That leads women to think that all men suck. I hear my friends say that all the time. And I'm like, I promise you they don't, because I'm engaged and I wouldn't be marrying someone that sucks. Like, because I've been in a sucky relationship. My ex was terrible, but I changed my self-perception of like, what type of person would, what in me, I don't want to, it's not, and you don't want to like judge yourself, because it's not like it's like, oh, who am I? Like, why did I have to create this? It's more like just seeing it for what it is and just being like, okay, like, what am I going to learn from this? How can I shift? How can I expand myself? How can I go back to what do I deserve and love? And who do I want to view myself as? And when you do that and continue to shift, then your reality is going to, like I said, kind of permanently shift instead of, oh, great, I manifested this stupid guy again.
Okay, so speaking of getting out of these like generational wounds potentially, or just negative, toxic habits of potential partners that are toxic, abusive, let's talk all the things about making some manifestation, sustainable changes with your process. So let's go through that and help some of my viewers maybe manifest something really simple to start off, and then they can work their way up with your process.
Yeah. So like I was saying, faith. So obviously, like in these 3 phases, there's like actionable steps, like identifying exactly what you want, becoming the energetic match for it, and shifting your beliefs and thoughts and emotions and actions. So all that is kind of sprinkled in the faith, belief, and certainty. But for my framework's sake and just time's sake and everything, let's say that they do want to manifest their dream partner. Okay. So first, gather that faith, have that solid, unshakable foundation. And truly it's about faith. To me, is operating in faith, but not in fear. So, and it's it's pretty much believing in the unseen, right? Which is really hard to do. It's illogical. Okay. And so in the world we live in, you're just like, that's so hard to do, but just trust yourself, right? And just say, okay, I know how my mind works. I know that I can create the reality that I want. And so that means that includes my dream partner. Lean back into that trust that I am responsible. I can take radical responsibility for me, my reality, and just lean back in that. When you start feeling that doubt, fear, and worry, just go back to I can create this. And of course, like I said, I teach the whole process in that. So you have the picture in your head, but if you're going to approach accomplishing a goal and say that you're manifesting it, just go back to that faith, right? So then in the belief section, just say, okay, what do I believe to be true about a relationship? What do I believe to be true about a man, a woman, or a partner? What do I believe to be true about them? Do I believe that all men suck? And then just kind of ask yourself, is that really the ultimate truth? Do you think that all men really suck? Like, can you find an example of a good man? And I'm just saying man, just because that's what I'm relating with myself. But do I have an example of a good man? I can look at my dad and my brother, right? I was just like, they don't operate like some of the partners I've had in the past. Like, so obviously this is not the ultimate truth, right? Because really all realities exist. You just have to go back to that faith and take a stance in your power and say, what reality am I going to choose, right? Is it the reality that all men suck or all people suck or whatever? I'm going to be disappointed and I can't trust them? Or am I going to say, I'm going to pay attention to the other examples of the world? Because, it's like all truths are truths. All realities are the reality. And it just depends on what truth do you want in your life. And this is not necessarily an overnight process. Like you can't just be like, okay, I'm just going to believe that all men suck or all men are great now. Okay. Like it's not an overnight process, which is why a lot of people give up in manifestation, because you could be potentially, like you said, generational wounds and just years of conditioning, years of telling yourself that all men suck. So you have to give yourself a little bit of grace and time to like integrate that new belief. And it's just kind of about creating acute hyper awareness and just saying, oh, if you're on a dating app, right? And you're just like looking and you're already reading in between the lines of like someone's message, like, oh, I knew it, all men suck. Or can you say, you know what, maybe this person's not for me. I'm going to go to the next person and not dwell on that. Or maybe like ask them, try have more open communication and be like, what did you mean by that? Like get to the actual truth, because you could just be perceiving a message based off your beliefs and past instead of the actual truth, right? So it's kind of just about, I don't want to say trial and error, but just experimenting and shifting yourself. And again, kind of holding yourself to that standard and accountability of like, I proved myself that not all men suck. So let me try to integrate that as I'm navigating a dating scene. If you find your beliefs are always validated. So it might take a couple dates to like realize that all men don't suck, right? Because again, your beliefs are always like validated in your life. So don't just like give up if, you go on 2 or 3 dates and it's being validated again. Just being like, don't stop 3 feet from gold. Like your 4th date could be like your dream partner, right? You just never know. And within that, look at and hold yourself to the high high standard of be picky. Some people like think that it's bad to be picky, or some people are always like, oh, like just don't be too picky. But like, honestly, be picky. Like, this is your life you're talking about. And you have to just get clear on what you want in that partner. And also like have those qualities within you. Start expressing those qualities, right? So of course that could like take some time and practice to integrate that new belief. And then certainty, truly, like I was saying, all realities exist. The reality that you're living now, you're certain about, right? So if you're certain about that, your beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions are going to align with that certainty. And I use the example of, because everything is truly a manifestation in our life, like even like the little things, like even the food in your fridge, it's a manifestation. So our phone is a manifestation. So why are we always like it in certainty? I say is it's unfathomable that it won't manifest. Like when you're certain about it, like even though it's not here yet, and even though you have no proof of it manifesting, like you're just so certain of it, right? It becomes unfathomable. That's like our phones. Like it's pretty much unfathomable that we would never not have a cell phone, right? So your identity, your belief system, thoughts, emotions, and actions create the reality to have that phone. So it's the same thing for anything that you're trying to manifest. You just have to become like certain that this is going to happen. And you do that through building faith and belief, of course. It kind of like piggybacks off of that. But that's when you really start to step into that version of you who has what you want. This usually requires some shadow work to try to be like, are there because you can't, if you don't love yourself, it's going to be super hard to give love to somebody else. In regards to a relationship, I would ask like, what qualities do you maybe not like in yourself right now? How can you find the good in that? And how can you start to maybe change some of those qualities that you don't like, right? Like maybe you're not trustworthy, a trustworthy friend, or maybe you have little white lies, or, whatever it is. Start to kind of do that shadow work and unravel kind of, and again, it's not about judging yourself. It's just being like, okay, this is what it is. Like, let me just step into a higher version of myself, because that is like the highest form of love, in my opinion, is coming back to that true self through stuff like shadow work. And so you can kind of just see where you are. And then you start to ask, well, it's the identity who has the dream relationship. Would they be saying white lies? Would they not be eating, or be eating healthier food, or whatever you kind of do to, I know when I'm like healthy, I just feel like more self-confident and love myself. But just start integrating that new version of yourself. And this is kind of like the action portion. And I always like to say and tell people, don't go like a complete 180, because your nervous system is going to freak out and you're going to give up. It's like when you start trying to go to the gym 7 days a week when you previously didn't go at all, right? You just fall off the wagon because your literal old self is like pulling you back into that comfort zone. And it's like, dude, this is not what we do. So try going to the gym once a week, right? And kind of, it's about a 45-degree shift, not like this 180 shift. And so in regards to relationship, I think that practice makes perfect. Go on a ton of dates. I don't know. Like that's what I did. I've always been like very confident in the men dating world. And it's just because like, I think I didn't have to do a lot of shadow work around this. So maybe you can like elaborate on this, but like, when I'm on a date, like I'm just very confident about myself. A next level version of someone for your community would be like, or how self-assured are you? Like how confident are you? And how can you put yourself in situations to practice that self-assurance, that confidence, and just like own yourself, right? As you lean back into the faith, I am responsible for my life. I can create it. I can do anything and have and be anything I want. I'm shifting my beliefs about who I am and what is possible for me and what type of partner is available to me. And then you're practicing that next level action and embodiment. And through all that integration, it's not going to be linear. Like we're on video and the listeners can't see me, but life isn't linear. It's kind of just like this big web of energy that's always working, right? We always have this energy around us that's co-creating with us. And so building up that faith, belief, and certainty, it just lets you stay the course, not give up, and really become that energetic match for your reality shifts. It's about holding within the void of setting, I want the new partner, and what happens in between the new partner, you have to be an energetic match. And so that's really, really the process in a speedy explanation.
I love that you touched on that. You have to be an energetic match for your partner, because I had recently just gotten back into the dating world. So I've been working on this whole thing since my breakup, and also with like the shadow work. I did a lot of shadow work. I did a lot of healing since my breakup earlier this year. And there was a point where I was just kind of angry just at my specific ex because of the way that things ended. So you have to heal from your past relationships, plural, if you have more than one.
Yes.
And before you get into another, like you're going to be bringing that that baggage from previous relationships unless you heal from that. One big thing is like you have to talk about previous relationships when you find your dream partner, when you're even dating, because things are going to come up and you have to be confident in yourself. Even if you talk about bad things that have happened, you still need to talk about them with this partner. So something that I've told a lot of people is, when I say no, you need to listen to me and stop whatever you're doing, because I've been sexually assaulted. I was raped by my one ex when I was 17 years old. So, I have a past of sexual trauma, and from men not stopping when I say no, they're not respecting my boundaries and myself. So I have to make that very aware to whoever I'm dating. And for some people, they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. And others are like, no, I get that. So feeling confident in yourself, even from when you've had past trauma or bad situations that you don't want to repeat, be confident about sharing that, because when it's with the right person, when you manifest your dream partner, they're not going to be blown away by that. They're going to be like, okay, we're going to work through that, or we're going to work together on this. And it's going to be easy.
No, definitely. And, we always want to try to manifest from a place of, and it's not about healing yourself completely in order to manifest something that you want, because that's impossible. Like, we're always going to have something to work through. But it's about still radically coming back to self, radically coming back to, I'm still worthy and whole no matter what's happened to me. It's your nervous system and minds likes to trick us that it's, still really, it's almost like it's happening again. If you can come back to that radical, it's like self-love, really. And that's why I say manifestation is about less about the things and more about yourself, because when you can manifest from a place of, my life is good now, I'm good now, and you just keep falling in love with life and yourself more and more, you don't have to manifest from a place of need. You're just manifesting from a place of, this is the cherry on top. So it's like when you can, so it's kind of like, what is the essence of the relationship? What do I want it to fill in my life, right? What do I think is missing in my life that the relationship is going to fulfill? And you can ask this for anything that you're manifesting. And if it's like, okay, I think I would feel loved, I think I would feel secure, I would have fun with my partner, and I'd have a lot of joy, I would have intimacy. It's like, okay, how can you bring that into your life right now? Because you absolutely can feel everything, experience everything that you want before that thing is in your life. And so that can also start kind of healing. So it's kind of like hitting two birds with one stone. It's like becoming that energetic match because you're experiencing that in the now, but it's also healing your needs at the same time. And so then it's like when you get that relationship and that person shows up, it's like they just get to, they're just like the cherry on top. It's like how I like to describe it. It's not filling a void. It's not being needy or desperate about it. It's just like, oh my God, this thing gets to come into my already amazing life and gets to experience the amazing person that I already am.
Exactly. And if you come from that energy of desperation, you're either not going to attract anyone close to what you're wanting, or you're going to attract the person that is just as desperate as you to get into any relationship. And neither of those are good outcomes.
And like another thing, even with just like breakups and stuff, because a lot of creating, it's about a lot of like emotional intelligence and again, kind of having discernment about, does this situation really need this emotion, or am I subconsciously reacting? Or is like, does this situation actually, I'm gonna feel my emotions about this situation. It deserves a little more attention, and it deserves for me to feel what I feel and heal it. Right. And so it's like, it's kind of like, obviously your past, as you just mentioned, that's not some shit to spiritually bypass and be like, I'm just going to be high vibe about it. It's like, whatever, it's in the past. Right. But it's someone honking at you in traffic and you're getting frustrated and annoyed. Okay. We can shift out of that quick, but something that not that one trauma is more traumatizing than the other, but obviously what you mentioned in your past is definitely going to be a little more traumatizing than someone honking at behind you, right? It's about creating discernment, just kind of based off what you're feeling in the situation and just asking, does this really need my attention? And as you do that, you can it's coming back more to self and allowing you to create a stronger emotional core, have, like just a big vibe instead of just a high vibe, because you can experience that pain and you can experience like a really big high, and it almost allows you to take that scary action that's needed to manifest something that you've never manifested, or take yourself on that date with that person and you're nervous or you're in your head or whatever. But then you can kind of be like, you know what, I've handled pain before, and so I'm not afraid of that scary action that you might have to take. And so that's why there's just like so many layers to manifestation, so many layers about just creating exactly what you want, more than what is the pillow exercise anyways.
The pillow one, I believe you write an affirmation down on a piece of paper and you put it under your pillow when you go to sleep.
Oh, okay.
I haven't tried that one yet. I've seen it on Pinterest. And it's like intrigued me that I've saved it and I pinned it to one of my boards, but I've tried like the 5x55 one. And I actually got so distracted on that because I'd keep like a gratitude journal every day and I do other manifesting affirmations as well. But the 5x55, I just could not do it for 5 days straight. I eventually did finish it, but my ADHD brain was like, oh, we forgot about that because we don't do that.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, so that is like kind of the identity thing that I was talking about earlier, is like you'll just get like zipped back into what you were doing before, which again creates the same reality over and over. But all those manifestation techniques, it's really about your belief behind it. Like if you're like, okay, I'm going to do the 5x55, like I believe this is going to work, then it might work. But again, could you write, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm a millionaire, and in 5 days you're going to be a millionaire? Probably not. But if you do something like, I want a text from a specific person or a free coffee or something like that, I feel like that would work. Again, that's why there's also just a lot of discernment in regards to manifestation and just like creating your life. It's so much deeper than a lot of those techniques allow you to be. And that's why so many people write off manifestation, because they're just like, I wrote my thing for 5 days and nothing happened. And we're like, okay, but there's just so much more to it.
Yeah, exactly. And you touch on the belief aspect so much as well. And there's so many different techniques out there. So like I found certain techniques worked for me and others didn't, but I also have to go back to myself and it's like, did I believe that this technique was going to help me, or this method? And I know that some of them I didn't 100% believe they would help me, and they ended up not. Like your first step is like, faith and then belief. But like the second step, the belief part, if you don't believe in it, it's definitely not going to happen. And definitely starting with something small, like you said, like a cup of coffee. And another lady I heard, she's like, oh, I'll manifest a penny. And for us here in Canada, we don't have pennies anymore. So I was like, you know what? This is going to be hilarious. I'm going to manifest a penny. They don't even make these anymore. It's hard to come by these. And I came across it in the weirdest way when I was landscaping for my parents last year. I found it in the dirt, like 3 or 4 inches down in the earth. And I was like, okay, now I believe in manifestation, because that's the craziest fucking place to find a penny. So I was like, yeah, I'm sold. Like manifestation is totally a thing. Let's roll with this shit.
Yeah. It's I like to say there's spiritual aspects, psychological aspects, and scientific biological aspects. It's all blended together. And, if anyone is doubting manifestation or may not believe in it or think it's kind of like this woo-woo thing, well, I just look up from wherever you're sitting right now listening to this, and your life is literally a manifestation. Like you're manifesting and actively attracting things into your life 24/7, because, it's the unfoldment of life based off your energy, and we can't turn off our energy. We're energetic beings. So that's kind of where people get lost, I think, in what manifestation is. It's like, I'm going to start manifesting because I want this. And we're like, well, you've actually been manifesting since you were literally born. So, and, really not from the ages of 0 to 7. We're kind of absorbing all of our belief systems during that time, because our subconscious mind is the only thing that's operating. We don't have our conscious abilities yet. So that's why, yes, a lot from what happens as a younger kid in your house, or whoever raised you, or whatever happened to you, we were talking about trauma earlier, that totally can solidify who your identity is as an adult. And then hence you start manifesting based off that identity. So this is why I'm like, I don't teach this stuff for you to get things. I teach so you can actually become the person that you were before potentially bad things I'm doing air quotes, but things that you didn't ask for, things that you didn't want, you wouldn't accept today as an adult, but as a kid you just believe in anything that you hear and see and experience. So, stepping into that version of you who wants to be unleashed. I actually like to say we don't need to be fixed. We need to be unleashed. I think approaching this like, oh, I just created this life and now I need to fix myself. It's like, no, that's not a good vibe. That's like hating on yourself and judging yourself a little bit. When you're just like, I just need to unleash the woman that's already inside me, that's just such a more empowering approach to changing your life, or, getting that partner that you want or whatever it may be.
Exactly. And I love that you touched on the fact that we manifest our entire lives, because I don't know about you, but I've been dreaming about getting married and having kids ever since I was a child. Even just like thinking about that with my current partner. And I'm sure even now that you're engaged, you're like, oh my God, I remember when I was little and I was thinking about getting married and now it's actually happening. We don't actually look at that aspect. So it's interesting to look at that, or even women that get pregnant, like they don't expect to get pregnant. And I've seen that in quite a few friends of mine that they're dating and then they're like, oh, we're pregnant, by the way. And like, this is super exciting. And I love that because they did manifest what they wanted, whether it was to be a mom or to get married to their current partner. Like, you don't think that you manifest that, but it's all about, oh, well, I want to be a mom, or I want to get married. I want to find my future husband. And just by thinking about that and dreaming about it and getting excited, that is a version of manifesting your dream life.
No, absolutely. That's why it's just like, it's taking manifestation. It's like, I can't have my dream life unless I learn manifestation. And you're just like, let's take manifestation off a pedestal and just realize, what do you want? Let's just create that energy, get excited about it. I go super deep in my containers and courses and stuff, because I think knowing the entire process, you're just like, have this total, like, I'm basically giving you, is it the red pill? And you're just like, holy shit, like your whole perception of how life is and what you're capable of changes. And so when you take that off the pedestal, you can just realize like, oh, I've actually manifested things I want. Just like you were saying. And I'm glad you mentioned, so something that you said actually sparked what I was going to have my point. When you're talking about, because when people say you manifest your whole life, then people start thinking about all the bad stuff. You're like, oh my God, I manifested this bad stuff, right? And because then people start potentially talking about like rape and sexual assault and stuff like that. And then you just get so judgmental. You're like, how did I manifest this on myself? Why would I manifest that, right? And sometimes it's not, like it's unconscious, right? If you don't know this stuff, you're just on autopilot. So, potentially, I don't know, there could just be, you could have a lot of negativity pent up in you. I don't know. That's something for you or whoever to look at. But then also, let's say something bad happens to you and you're like, I've been trying to manifest this partner, my dream life, more money, and, but now this bad stuff's happening to me. Sometimes you want to take that is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes, so your ego is going to absolutely say, this is really bad. This is my fault. I suck, or this is bad. Okay. But sometimes you're co-creating with the universe. Sometimes the universe is going to make that quote unquote seemingly bad thing happen to you because it's going to enable you to step into the energetic match for actually what you want, or prepare you and mold you as a person for something else really good in your life later. Right. So, if you are trying to manifest more money per se, and you're like, oh, all I have is like, now someone hit my car, you're like, this broke down and I have this, and my credit card debt is rising because of interest. Like, this is not manifesting money. It's like, okay, maybe the universe, and maybe you're still co-creating this because your subconscious will manifest things for you to work through. Maybe it's giving you those expenses right now instead of money, so you can become more comfortable with paying with things, because the version of you who would have more money would be comfortable paying for things, right? Mm-hmm. So inside any type of, especially sexual trauma and anything like that. And like, I, of course, I'm saying this very cautiously, sometimes those things, maybe somebody that happened to somebody and now they're helping women through that. And that's like their thing. Right. And it's like a total win because they're and they're passionate about it. So they get to not only create a dream life, potentially being abundant in this, but they had that bad, again, air quote experience to now bringing help and comfort and security and healing to a whole group of women that are also going through the same thing. And so it's just kind of all about that perspective in that. And so sometimes if you are labeling something as bad, try to look at it like, what if this is preparing me for what I'm actually asking or who I'm supposed to be?
This conversation has been so beautiful. Thank you, Leah, so much for coming on the podcast to share your manifestation method. And I know you have a resource library, so I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about that and how any of the listeners can access that for free.
Yeah, so I have a whole manifestation resource library, and it has over 12 hours of video training content from just past trainings I've done, and I've taken the best of the best. And then it also has about, I think, 5 guides and workbooks in there. It has like a limiting belief, a quick guide to smashing limiting beliefs. It has a guide, manifest 1K in 30 days. It has a little masterclass series in there, Faith, Belief, and Certainty, what we talked about today. And so, yeah, so it's just kind of like a Netflix version of manifestation for you. Certainly if your listeners were like resonating or want to learn more about manifestation, theabundanceattitude.com/free, if someone doesn't like to go to the show notes or something.
Yes, we will definitely link that in the show notes. And if you love today's conversation with Leah, the manifestation queen, you can find her on Instagram at The Abundance Attitude. She has so much amazing free content on there, and I love following her on there. That's actually how we got connected. So I just love this conversation so much, and I love you so much and appreciate you.
No, I love you. Thanks for having me on. I love this conversation.
Yes, and thank you for sharing your brilliance and zone of genius with me and my listener here today. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Did you love today's episode? If you did, take a screenshot and share it on Facebook or on Instagram and tag me at The Soulful Body Co. Let me know what was your favorite part of today's episode, and I will see you next time.